I think it's really important with kids to expect that they're going to have questions and concerns. And as adults, trusted adults, we need to be really open and honest with them. We need to validate their concerns. But obviously that communication really needs to be developmentally appropriate. It's going to be different if you're talking to a 5 or 6-year-old compared to, a teenager or a young adult. But, it's important that we provide that comfort for them, but also that we focus on their own safety and we reassure them that they're safe. I mean, as you said, we're being bombarded at the moment with images from Ukraine or with the distress of the flooding or even with this new illness, Japanese encephalitis. So it's very overwhelming at the moment, and I do think we need to limit their exposure to the news, but we need to open the conversation with them at their level and really try and help them to process what's going on.
So what is a good age to start having at least a small bit of exposure to the news?
I think it's okay to expose children to some news. I mean, it depends. Obviously, prep children, early primary school age children don't need to be exposed to very frightening images on the news. But, I think we can all, I've got 4 kids. It's incredible how much kids absorb from conversation with their peers, from listening to adult conversation. So it's not only about watching images, it's about what they hear and the conversations that they are sort of overhearing and participating in. So all kids are being exposed to this information, but as adults, I do think we need to limit the graphic images, particularly to the younger children.
So you talk about if a child has been exposed to this news, whether it's at home or in the playground, as you say, some of them might come to their parents to talk about their concerns, but some may not initiate that conversation. So should the parents then initiate it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think we can assume that most children will have some questions and sort of concerns about what's going on, but at the same time, you don't want to make them more anxious than they necessarily want to be. I think taking the cue from children is important, and if they come to you, finding a quiet time, sitting down at their level and really communicating with them is important. If a child is not asking anything, you can raise it gently and say, are you aware what's happening, or do you have any questions about the floods? And then see if they want to extend that conversation. But if they don't, I think that's okay as well. So I think really, as paediatricians and parents, the most important thing is to take the cue from your child and to meet them where they're at.
When you talk about the need to reassure a child of their safety in that conversation, many news events are distant from our personal lives, but over the last couple of years, the pandemic has impacted everyone, including, of course, all the kids. And, I think about those kids in the flood-affected areas as well. Their safety has been at risk during those times. So how do you balance that conversation when they are directly impacted by the news event?
Yeah, absolutely. There have been many children who've had very frightening experiences being rescued by boat from houses, including my own niece in Lismore. Children have experienced a lot. So for those children, it's really important when they're ready that they have an opportunity to talk about their experience. It may be with their parent or a trusted adult, or it may be that really, they do need access to a psychologist at some point to be able to really process that experience. So, it has been very overwhelming for some children, very frightening. We do need to make sure that kids have the space to explore those emotions and to try and work through it themselves, just like adults need to.
We are running out of time, Professor, but are the systems that we've got set up at the moment in place already enough to deal with the mental health implications of the news that we've been dealing with, especially over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. With the pandemic over the last 2 years and the huge increase we've seen in demand for psychology services in particular to support the mental health of children and young people, and now with what's happening, I think The answer is probably no. We don't have enough services, particularly in regional and rural areas, but there's a massive push and investment and a mental health strategy looking at that. And so I think as adults, we need to do our very best to make sure that our children can access these services and that we keep working to help them to access them if they need them. No, I think that a lot more investment needs to happen in this space.
Paediatrician Professor Margie Danchin, great to have you on this morning. And if you or someone you know is experiencing distress, please always contact Lifeline 13 11 14, or you can get in touch with Beyond Blue by phone or also through their website. And this is part of the anxiety project that the ABC is doing over the coming weeks.